Hey y'all, it's me again. I'm going to continue reading from my book, The 1900s. Roosevelt takes a cautious approach to reform. Theodore Roosevelt's version of progressive reform was a cautious one. He cultivated party leaders in Congress and steered away from such political meat grinders as the tariff and banking issues. And when he did approach the explosive issue of the trust, he always took care to reassure the business community. For him, politics was the art of the possible. Unlike the more advanced progressives and the doctrinaire lunatic fringe, as he called them, he would take half a loaf rather than none at all. Roosevelt acted in large part out of the conviction that reform was needed to keep things on an even keel. Control should rest in the hands of sensible Republicans and not with the irresponsible Democrats, or worse, the growing socialist movement. At the outset of his presidency in 1901, Roosevelt took up President McKinley's policies and promised to sustain them. He touched base with McKinley's friend and manager Mark Hanna and worked with Republican leaders in Congress against whom the minority of New Progressives was as yet powerless. Republican Speaker Joe Cannon was able to announce on one occasion to a helpless House, "We will now perpetuate the following outrage." Roosevelt turned out would accomplish more by vigorous executive action than by passing legislation. And in the exercise of executive powers, he was not inhibited by points of legal detail. The president, he argued, might do anything not expressly forbidden by the Constitution. The Constitution, he later said, must be interpreted not as a straitjacket, not as laying the hand of death upon our development, but as an instrument designed for a life and healthy growth of the nation. He is even credited with asking, "What's the Constitution between friends?" But that query seems to have been apocryphal. Carter suffused Roosevelt's first annual message, delivered in December 1901, but he felt impelled to take up the trust problem and believed that it might be more risky to ignore it. The message carefully balanced arguments on both sides of the question. The mechanism of modern business is so delicate one that extreme care must be taken not to interfere with it in the spirit of rashness or ignorance. A widespread belief nevertheless held the great corporations, and certain of their features and tendencies hurtful to the general welfare. The President endorsed the sincere conviction that combination and concentration should be not prohibited, but supervised within reasonable limits. Control. The first essential was knowledge of the facts. Publicity, the only sure remedy we can now invoke. In August 1902, Roosevelt carried the trust issue to the people on a tour of New England and the Midwest. He endorsed a square deal for all, calling for enforcement of existing antitrust laws and stricter controls on big business. From the outset, however, Roosevelt believed that wholesale trust busting was too much like trying to unscramble eggs. Effective regulation, he believed, was better than a futile effort to restore small business, which might be achieved only at a cost to the efficiency of scale gained in larger operations. Roosevelt nevertheless soon acquired a reputation as a trust buster. Hey, sorry for the long pause. It's just that we got a new shoe rack, so I had to move everything. Okay, let me continue. Mine workers stand firm. Support for Roosevelt's use of the big stick against corporations was strengthened by the stubbornness of mine owners and the anthrax I think that's how you say coal strike of 1902. On May 12th, the United Mine Workers, or the UMW, walked off the job in Pennsylvania and West Virginia, demanding a 20% wage increase, a reduction in hours from 10 to 9, and union recognition. The coal mine operators, having granted a 10% raise 2 years before, dug in their heels against further concessions and shut down in preparation for a long struggle to starve out the miners. Their spokesman, George F. Bayer, president of the Reading Railroad, helped the union cause more than his own with an arrogant pronouncement. The rights and interests of the laboring man will be protected and cared for, he said, not by the labor agitators, but by the Christian men to whom God in his infinite wisdom has given control of the property interests of the country. Facing the prospect of a coal shortage, Roosevelt called for a conference at the White House. The mine workers, led by Bayer, attended but refused to even speak to the UMW leaders. The average Roosevelt, who expressed his irritation at the extraordinary stupidity and temper of the wooden-headed owners. The president also confessed the temptation to grab Bayer by the seat of his breeches and chuck him out a White House window. After the conference ended in an impasse, Roosevelt threatened to take over the mines and run them with the army. When a congressman questioned the constitutionality of such a move, an exasperated Roosevelt grabbed the man by the shoulders and roared, "To hell with the Constitution when the people want coal!" To such a comment as like it over the years led Joe Cannon, the crusty House Speaker, to know Roosevelt's got no more respect for the Constitution than Tomcat has for a marriage license. Militarizing the mines would have been an act of dubious legality, but the owners fear that TR, which is short for Theodore Roosevelt, might actually do it, and that public opinion would support him. The coal strike ended in 1902 with an agreement to submit the issues to an arbitration commission named by the president. After a last-minute flurry over the operators' refusal to accept the union man on the panel, the president blithely reclassified the head of the railway conductors union as an eminent sociologist. The agreement enhanced the prestige of both Roosevelt and the union leader, although it produced only a partial victory for the miners. By the arbitrators' decision of March 21st, 1903, the miners won a 9-hour day, but only a 10% wage increase and no union recognition. Roosevelt continued to use his executive powers to enforce the Sherman Act, but he avoided conflict in Congress by drawing back from further antitrust legislation. Please comment, rate, and subscribe down below. And I now have a Patreon account, so please check that out. And pay for my stuff on eBay and Mercari, okay? Bye.